Hello, my bright stars in the night sky. I wasn't sure what I was going to do for this third video. I thought about it mentally in my head. And I have been repeating this phrase like nonstop the past couple of days. To the point I'm pretty sure like I'm annoying people right now. So let's do it. You cannot trust or rely on the trustworthy, nor can you expect for them to change necessarily. I mean, it doesn't mean they won't become more trustworthy down the road, but don't expect gold from them. I'm smiling because I'm remembering things in my head. And I'm gonna tell, this is a little story time, man. This is a little story. Once upon a time, I was in my early 20s, and there was this group of people I would hang out with, and they had some bad habits, and I think that I kept on having like hope for them, like hope that they, like, I would tell one person, like, I believe in you. You're gonna be great. You gotta trust in yourself. And I tell her all this stuff, right? Because I wanted to build her up. But she never gave that back to me. She never really wanted me as a friend. She didn't really like me, and I liked her. I thought she was awesome. And there's a couple other people too that were very untrustworthy, like spreading information to other people, just lacking integrity. And to be perfectly honest, I think in some ways I was kind of a little bit, I struggled with integrity too at that time point. So, I mean, it wasn't necessarily all their fault, if I'm being honest, because I was acting in untrustworthy ways too, right? Because I was being super judgmental towards them at times, and I was being very rigid, and I want them to do things my way. And I could be really harsh. Right back then, I was really harsh as a person. Like, I was not nice. I mean, I wanted to be nice. I wanted to be a good person, but I didn't know how to be a good person. So I think I kind of got the karma, that I kind of deserved. And so something kind of recently stirred this thought in my brain where I think that we as a people do struggle with knowing who to trust, in terms of like paying attention to red flags, but also to being honest with ourselves about people in our lives, but also to like, about our own traits of untrustworthiness. It's not just the other people. It's usually kind of we're doing something too a little bit, whether we're being untrustworthy to ourselves. It could be just simply that, like sometimes that's why we have those sort of people around us. It's because we're not being honest. We're lacking integrity towards ourselves, and we may be lying to ourselves. We may be saying, oh, I'm gonna get rid of them, but you never do. I used to do that all the time. Like, I would have these friends and I say, like, one of these days I'm just gonna leave them. I'm just not gonna take this crap anymore. And I would take the crap. And I'm gonna take the crap. And of course I'd give crap back. So like I would also to act like a very untrustworthy friend in some ways, in most ways. And so kind of moving forward as time has kind of gone on, I would have these jobs where I'd have like untrustworthy bosses, and I never was quite sure who to trust. And then recently I had this weird revelation that because I was really trying hard to behave in a trustworthy manner, and to live a life of integrity, I had somehow drawn to myself a very good situation and individuals who kind of reflected those inner qualities I was starting to display. And when you start developing those qualities, and let's say what those qualities may look like, let's be direct instead of pussyfooting around. Trustworthy qualities is keeping your promises, no gossiping, or trying to minimize as much gossiping as you can. Like, I know it's tempting. I know it can be very tempting. Maybe minimizing to no bad-mouthing people, even if people have done you wrong. Just like kind of do your best, as hard as it is, to try not to do it. I'm smiling because it's really hard, especially when you first start learning how to do it. And even when you're learning how to do it and you get better and better, you're like, oh my god, this is still so hard. And giving other people grace as much as you can, trying to internally in your noggin, trying to minimize the negative thinking towards yourself and other people, trying to also to give people, like the right people, the benefit of the doubt. Like the people are being untrustworthy, like you don't have to give them that at all, because obviously at some point they have lost their grace period. It's gone. But for people who have treated you really well, like let's go through like oh, they did this, it was really nice, they're super awesome. They're probably having a really bad day, it's been a tough period of time, they're stretched thin. Like that grace in your brain, already built up, will help you kind of get through a tough period of time with your friends, your family members, co-workers, bosses, who have an average of being a decent human being, and you're just kind of you're struggling for a short period of time. And then there's the people who are untrustworthy. What do? They do very backstabby behavior. So they may lie to you, spread your information to other people. They may say they're going to do something and then don't do it. They may do some weird, inappropriate boundary crossing things. Let me see if I can think of one from my personal thing. Okay, I can't really think of one. Oh, check your emails. No, don't check your friends' emails no matter what you do. It's really inappropriate. That happened to me. And it broke, I never trusted the person after that. No. I didn't want to be their friend after that. Other inappropriate things are maybe using things, weaponizing things. And I'm talking about I'm not talking about they do it here and there. I'm talking about do it repetitively. This is on average they do this sort of thing. This is something they do. Let's also I'm going to give you, okay, so I had an old boss, right? And she used to try to force people to change their shifts to accommodate gaps that were from people who quit or got fired. And so she would try to bully us. And if you said no and she decided she didn't like you, she would try to fire you. And so I said no, because I'm sorry, but I can't just change on a dime within 24 hours. Maybe sometimes, but not all the time. And so I said no, and she got mad. And so cameras were on me. She was trying to look for a reason to fire me. She gave me a write-up over something that was 5 minutes late. And I gave them, I told them I was going to be late. I'm sorry, I'm going to be late. And other people had been 5 minutes late and they didn't get a write-up. And I'm that's bullshit, man. This is ridiculous. And I remember thinking, this woman really lacks integrity. She acts really nice. She looks great on paper. But she's constantly micromanaging, stressing me out. I'm trying to see if she can get me fired, and wants me to bend the knee. And she was also too, that job even itself was a place of, it lacked integrity, because they pressured us to waive a 30-minute break. And so they actually would have had a really hard time giving us a 30-minute break. They really would have, because they were constantly going through people and having like holes, gaps. And so we had to get mandated to stay, because I was in the mental health field, right? Working for somewhere in Concord residential teenagers. It's like, that's all I can tell you, just in case they try to like shut me down for being too woke or something. I don't know, man. But they're actually by a company that's actually is perceived as doing really great work. I mean, not to say they don't, but on the backs of their workers and mistreating their workers. And so if you take a mental health company and see it as the whole of like, they have the backstabbing part in it, they make promises that they can't keep, there's retaliation, targeting, boundary crossing, what else would happen? There would be like weird stuff, like just really weird stuff, like framing of people, and they would just be like there and then gone, and you would have sense like something weird had happened, like they were just like, where did they go? And it'd be like, they say like something like sketchy happened, and you're like, was it really sketchy, or is it our boss being sketchy again? And so it's really difficult. You can't say that a company is trustworthy if they're acting in an untrustworthy manner. So why trust their children, these teenagers, to this company? I used to hear this phrase a lot, heads and beds, right? Because ultimately it's about money, right? Ultimately, it's always about money. Sorry for touching me here a lot because this makes me nervous, but it's true. And so usually untrustworthy people have an agenda. They want something. They're looking for something out of these people who are vulnerable, which is the mental health workers. And then sometimes there might be someone who may have poor self-esteem. They might be a people pleaser. So if you have a toxic friend and they're untrustworthy and they're like maybe they're trying to like target you in a way that makes you feel like, you need them. And like, oh, I'm the only one that cares about you. Like no one else is looking out for you like I am. You can't trust the untrustworthy, because the untrustworthy will eventually do something pretty damn bad. And I'm going to give you another example. I used to work at a psychiatric hospital in Belmont. And like, this was like decades ago, but they got in trouble for something really bad. And they had to clean up their act. And they did a really good job of cleaning up their act. And they actually wanted to be, I think, a place of integrity. And I think to some extent they did a really good job. Out of all the psychiatric hospitals, they were probably the ones that displayed more trustworthy behaviors towards staff of the bachelor's level. Unless it came to money, because then they would lowball them financially. And it's like, what are you doing? We all know what you're doing. Agenda, right? And so you can't trust the untrustworthy. So if you're talking about these mental health organizations, their treatment will never really actually be effective, because in order for it to be effective, you need consistent caregiving from consistent caregivers. That's it in a nutshell. If you don't have that, your treatment is down by a really good rate. Like, I don't remember what the number was, but it's like, because young people need bonds, attachment, trustworthy individuals in their lives for more than like a year to 5 years. They need stability in their lives. And if they lack the stability from these institutions, it's really hard for them to develop skills. They can end up with skill regression. And it can be really traumatic for them to lose a caregiver. And so basically what happens is that these companies get money. So they must be fudging the number somewhere, because they're getting the money, right, from somewhere, right? But how is no treatment can't be that effective if they do not have consistent caregivers? Like, I'm sorry, but this has been rattling my brain for a very, 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 very long time. And so that's kind of why you want to be careful where you're shipping your kids off to. And same thing with ABA services nowadays. The ABA world is actually going through, or was the last time I checked, with the same problem that the mental health field was going through, is that they're struggling with consistent caregivers, which means, I'm sorry, but the research doesn't back inconsistent caregiving. Like, you see that too with homelessness, right? It can be really hard to establish yourself and get yourself in a bad, tricky situation if you do not have stable housing. And so to see it as Maslow's hierarchy, right? You need first physical safety, and then you go up, and you get all those needs taken care of. But you cannot get self-realization and emotional wellness unless you have stability, whether it's in housing or inconsistent caregiving. Because consistent caregiving is in the housing for residential care, or, because if you're looking at ABA services, that stability that you need, where you recognize that face, that trust between one person to another. If a new person comes in, do you think you're going to trust that person? Like, who are you? I don't know what to expect from you. Now I have there's this instability going on in my brain, especially with autistic kids, like, that creates more skill regression in every single time there's a new person. So then what happens is treatment will take longer. Duh. I'm sorry, but I'm mad about this stuff. But it's why you can't trust the untrustworthy. Don't give money to people who claim big things, and then the results are not there. Do not, as adults, as parents, as citizens in your world, like, you need to be aware of this stuff. Not just because, like, this impacts these services out there. Like, teachers, right? You need stability in the classroom, which means you need a teacher that stays for 5 years, because they might walk in the hallway, and they'll see Johnny and like, oh, Johnny, how you doing? Look at you, you're getting so grown, you're so big, you're so smart. And the kid busts up, yeah, I'm really so smart, thank you. And they go and they walk away from thinking, yeah, I'm so glad they remembered me. I feel so good. I had a positive experience with that person that knew me when I was younger. There's a couple moments in my own life where people remembered me, and they go like, hey, you, and yeah, that's me. And having that stability in caregivers for schools was really helpful for me, because I would feel really demoralized every year when I went into another classroom, because I would have these teachers who would look out for me, and they would tell other teachers, saying like, she's fine, she's cool, she's a good kid, if you're nice to her, she'll be nice to you. And then I got really shitty teachers, and like, there was nothing they could do. But I would see them in the hallway, and I'd get a little bit of a boost, and I'd probably I'm gonna cry. I'm like, oh god, that's my old teacher. Oh, not the end of the world today. Someone believes in me. Someone believes in me. And I know this kind of sounds kind of a ramble, but this is something that's kind of like, you know, it could be in your inner world, your inner circle, to the institutions around you. There's this Bronnerfield's ecological system, look it up, it's a psych thing, where let me see if I can get this, like, okay, so you are the first circle, right? See, I don't know, you can't see it, there's no way you can see the circle, sorry. Okay, so now you can see the circle, and so there's another circle, which would be, I think, is your family, and then another circle, your family and friends, right, is in the inner circle, and then the institution and the school, right, and it goes up to, you know, the government and blah, blah, blah. And it's actually really cool. I remember when I first discovered Bronnerfield's ecological system, I remember going like, it blew my mind, because we are actually really heavily influenced by these people and these systems that are around us. And if for whatever reason there's any instability in them, it F's us up. And remember how I talked about, you know, I repeat a lot of things, but I can't help it. It's because, you know, we want, you know, in our institutions, in our world, and even with us, we in order for us to protect ourselves from skill regression, from emotional instability, from impulsivity that we may regret, like emotional outbursts or bad money spending, we do need stability. That's why, you know, it's kind of really, you know, if you can do it, stay in one area for a couple of years, stay in one job for a couple of years as best as you can. Try your best to have a consistent friend group. Don't, like, you know, unless they're really bad assholes in your life and they're creating instability in you because they are untrustworthy, because the untrustworthy will create instability in you and you'll become unstable to other people. But I know this was a big monologue. But I gotta wrap up because it is late for me, and I really wanted to get the third episode out for this holiday weekend. I wish you all love and light, Mary, me, blessed be, amen. Please like, comment, subscribe. The more you support this channel, the more I can give. You know, I'm trying to kind of like increase the quality of these videos, but I'm also trying to make sure there is a stable presence of me throughout time and space. It's a little harder to have high quality videos because I work a real job, and I am very, very blessed with this job because I have gone through a lot, and this is one of my better jobs. I can't screw it up for nothing. I mean it. No, I mean it, because I actually finally found some trustworthy folks. You know, I'm surrounded by really good coworkers, bosses, good work environment, and it's like, huh, didn't know that existed, but it does. It does. And it's like, when you have that stability, it really does have a positive impact on you. And I'm sorry if I'm not exactly the best speaker of anything, but yeah, but definitely what I would say, check out Maslow's hierarchy, Bronnerfield's ecological system, and also to look up, like, if you can, like, the negative impacts of instability in caregiving, and in unstable housing situations can impact you. If you don't believe what I'm talking about, like, if you think like I'm full of shit, well, What you know about my friends, man? Like they're like, sorry, I'm glitching here, but I mean, if you want emotional wellness and you want to thrive, we have to think with a thrive mentality, which means we have to look at the people in our lives, the systems in our world. We have to call things out as they are. We can't just like play pretend forever and just kind of, say, oh, they'll get better eventually. Will they though? Will they though? I don't think the mental health field's going to get any better. I don't, because it's filled with a lot of untrustworthy folk in it. Top up specifically, And I think that if you have untrustworthy people in your life, they're going to really screw with you. And there's no pretending about it. Live in light, marry me, blessed be, amen, to good health, and adios. I'm sorry if I depressed you. The smile is not because I'm happy about it, but it's because it's my stress response. Bye.